Hi, it's time for the next video. I was really starting to sort of think about actually doing some reviews of games, and it's quite difficult for me to know actually which ones to choose really. I've just got so many games to choose from, and whilst I'd like to think I could go through them all, I actually worked it out the other day that if I did one video every day of a game review, I've got enough to keep going for the next 10 years. I mean, absolutely crazy. I've got so many sort of games that I've collected over the past sort of 20 years. So what I actually thought I'd do for this video was to really concentrate on the PlayStation 2. And it's only going to be a very short video, I think, and just to concentrate on the PlayStation 2 and also on SHMUPS. I think, as I said in the previous video, I really do like my SHMUPS as well as beat-em-ups. They're undoubtedly my favourite two genre games, and it wasn't until sort of fairly recently that I sort of appreciated the actual shoot-em-ups that are available on PlayStation 2. Now, most of the sort of more obscure, perhaps not obscure in their own right, but as regards to getting hold of the games for PlayStation 2, they seem to be predominantly on NTSC format, so either on Japanese format or on the US format. PlayStation 2, whilst it did have some games, some shoot-em-up games that were released for PAL versions, it certainly wasn't as many as what was released in other regions. So I've just done a short list really of my favourite PlayStation 2 games. So I thought what I'll do, I'll just go through that list, and if anybody's got any requests of any specific games from this list that they'd like me to actually review in depth, I'll be more than happy to do it. I would perhaps go through the whole list anyway as regards to reviews, but as I said, if anyone's got any specific sort of mention to any game or any groups of games or whatever, just sort of drop a comment on the video and I'll see what I can do for you. So starting from the top of my list, we've got Dodonpachi, which was released on the PlayStation 2 along with some other formats. The PlayStation 2 versions are really good. It's a vertical shoot 'em up. It works quite well on the cabinets that I've showed in a previous video, because of the fact I can change it to vertical mode, so I can get full screen vertical mode. The next one is Ibarra, or Ibarra, and again that's a vertical shoot 'em up, in a similar vein really to Dodonpachi. It's made by Cave, so it's one of these bullet hell games. It is fairly hard. It is a fairly hard game. It's not an easy game, but again, it's another good shoot 'em up, a sort of classic Jap shoot 'em up that I'd call. Next one is Espegaluda, which has recently been released on the Xbox 360. So this was the first version of that came out. And the actual port that's on the Xbox 360 is very, very good port of the second version of this game, which was an arcade board game, but it was actually released, the first version was released for PlayStation 2, and it is very, very good. I absolutely love the game, and the music is absolutely great, graphics are really good, and the game plays really well. Excuse me. The next game, and I'm not even going to bother pronouncing the whole of this game, I'll just call it Mushy, and it's actually a longer name than that, but it starts with Mushy. I think everyone that knows what that particular game is will know what I'm going on about, but I call it Mushy, because that's the first 6 characters of the game, which says mushy, but like I said, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the rest of it. And some of the other games that I do go through, if I don't pronounce them correctly, I do apologise. But again, it's another cave game, a sort of bullet hell shooter. So there's plenty of bullets on the screen, plenty of aliens that you've got to shoot at. In this case, it's bugs. They're actually bugs you have to shoot at. Really, really good game. And again, that particular game has just had a release for the Xbox 360. So the games are very similar, but again, this was the first version of the game, again, that was also in the arcades as well, so this is an arcade conversion. So we're coming on to more mainstream shooting, which we've got Thunder Force 6, which I know has had quite a few comments on various reviews, that it, by the time it got to this version of Thunder Force, it had lost a bit of its original appeal and game style and so forth. But I think it's really good, to be honest. It looks good and it plays good. So that could be a possible one to review sooner rather than later. Next one, Gradius 5, very good. I absolutely love Gradius games. I think they play really well. They're fairly straightforward games, so they're an easy shoot 'em up to get into. But as you progress further on, they do get harder and harder. So that's a real good game. I like that one. Raiden 3 is an interesting one. I think it was sort of one of the later PlayStation 2 shooters to be released. I'm sure it was getting on towards the middle of 2005, sort of somewhere between 2003 and 2005. And the similarities between Raiden 3 on the PlayStation 2 and Raiden 4 on the Xbox 360 are pretty uncanny, to be honest. The graphics style is virtually the same. So if you played Raiden 4 on the Xbox 360, this is very similar on the PlayStation 2. Great game, really good game. And if you're into the Raiden series, I would highly recommend you try and track a copy down of it if you own a PlayStation 2. If you've got an Xbox 360, then get hold of Raiden 4 on the Xbox 360. Fortunately, it's only a Japanese owned release, and I only work on a Japanese Xbox, but it is a really good game. I've got that as well on the 360, and I will certainly do a review on that at some point in the near future. Chaos Field. Never really got on with this game, to be honest. It was also released on the Dreamcast. I bought it for the Dreamcast as well. They are virtually the same as regards to the way they look, certainly the same as regards to the way they play. Dreamcast version slightly cleaner in the graphics department, but nothing major. Chaos Field is a horizontal but vertical shooter, if that makes sense, in the way that you can't rotate the screen because it does actually fill up the whole of the screen from left to right, but you are shooting off the screen. So it is a horizontal, sorry, it is a vertical shooter, but made for horizontal screens. There's another one, and I can't think for the life of me what it was like to play, or what it's actually like to play, I should say. And it's Homura. I think I'll have to have another blast on that fairly soon to see what that plays like.